That's at least. Om Shruti Smriti Purananam Alayam Karunalayam Namami Bhagavat Padam Shankaram Loka Shankaram Shankaram Shankaracharyam Keshavam Badarayanam Sutra Bhashya Kritau Vande Bhagavantau Punah Punaha Ishvaro Gururatmeti Murti Veda Vibhagine Vyomavatyapta Dehaya Dakshinamurtaye Namaha Gukarastvandakaro Vai Rukarastvanivartakaha Andhakaram Nirodhitvat Gururitya Vidhiyate Sadashiva Samarambham Shankaracharya Madhyamam Asmadacharya Paryantam Vande Guru Paramparam. Om Sahana Vavatu Sahanau Bhunaktu Sahaviryan Karavavahai Tejasvinavadhitamastu ma vidvishavahai. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. Excuse me. Let us chant verses number 33 to 36 of the Advaita Prakaranam. Kalpam Ajam Jnanam. Akalpakam Ajam Jnanam. Jnaya Bhinnam Prachakshate. Brahma Jnayam Ajam Nityam. Ajenajam Vibudhyate. Nigrihitasya manasaha. Nirvikalpasya dhimataha. Pracharah satu vijñeyaha. Sushuptenyona tatsamaha. Liyate hi sushupte tat. Nigrihitam na liyate. Tadeva nirbhayam brahma. Jnanalokam samantataha. Ajam anidramasvapnam. Anakanam anamakam arupakam. Sakrit vibhatam sarvagyam. Nopachara kathanchana. So I think as we went over last time, I made a long point of it, that both the Mandukya Upanishad and especially the Gaudapada Acharyaji's Karika, which is just unique, really, because Gaudapada is Shankaracharyaji's Paramaguru, Guru's Guru. And in fact, there is quite a bit of discussion that there is a start of the re-establishment of the Sampradaya starting with the Gaudapada Acharya. So re-establishment means that what happens is that It's a little bit like, when you have your desk and you arranged it maybe 2 or 3 weeks, maybe a month ago. But in the meantime, when you start putting papers on the desk, it starts to get messy. You think every day, I do the same thing. You get a new mail and I says, okay, I'll get to it later. So I put it there somewhere. Then there are some things that are more urgent, some bills that I have not paid. So then I have to put it in a slightly. Pretty soon the whole thing gets completely messy. And so once in a while what you need to do is to stop things and just say, okay, I'm going to clean up my desk one more time. So this is the process of re-establishing the sampradaya. So it's not as though the sampradaya gets lost. Bhagwan has just been so, this is his own sampradaya. This is not our human beings. This is Ishvara Sankalpa. So it's never going to be lost. No possibility. As I think you may have seen that there were some reports that there's a lot of civilizations that have been lost over time. Egyptian, Roman, Mesopotamia. They have beliefs and so on. They all are lost, except for Hinduism. There's something unique. No matter what happens, whenever you have the British rule or the Mohammedans rule or something, this keeps on going. But in the meantime, it's Buddhism. There was a major assault on Hinduism. So what happens is that it gets messy. It just gets mixed up. People saying, I think that is also okay. Maybe we should look at some other things and so on, as is in the case of Buddhism. But then from time to time, there is a kind of a cleanup. So it is said that Gaudapadaji's Karika, this is very highly regarded, what we are reading, highly regarded. Preceded even Sri Shankaracharya. You can imagine that. That was the revival. I did not just get it from me. This is what I'm reading in the books. And this is how important it is. But anyway, to connect to the main point I was trying to make was that last week we went over the fact that the Mandukya itself is rather advanced, pretty advanced, because it is so concise, and this is what it comes to. And then on top of that, the Karika is even more advanced. More advanced. Last week Narayan was sitting here and one of his questions was, he says, I don't see the connection between Karika and the Upanishad. This is a very classical case where you don't know what's happening, what is, so on and so forth. It's very advanced. So the implications of it being advanced is that this is really meant for Uttama Adhikari, people who have really studied a lot. It's like quantum physics. This is quick. And unless you belong in that classroom, you're going to be lost. And we don't belong in that class. This is why we all kind of like quizzically and says, how is this connected? What is the meaning of it? And so on. This is how advanced it is. But that doesn't mean that it's useless. The implication for us, which we should really think about, is that as we progress in our lives towards an understanding of this very subtle subject matter, then we should find out how far have I got to go, where am I at this point in time. A self-evaluation. And it's kind of like, have I crossed through this door yet? If you haven't crossed through that door, you're pretty far. So this whole discussion about Sankalpa that we did, as an example, just before we go forward on this, every time I just keep saying, we are going too slow, we've got to really speed this up. And then it's interesting because I need to really make some points that are effective for me. And whatever is, you're lucky that I'm one of you like you. And so if it's effective for me, I want to make sure that I share that with you as well. So the point about Sankalpa is an interesting one, because what it says is that if you look at your lives and you are making plans, you're pretty far. You have a long ways to go. It doesn't say don't make plans. You are going to do what you're going to do. There's no forcing anybody. But this is a marker. This is a marker. You yourself have to see, where am I in the process of understanding, of absorbing. And if you let yourself go and just accept whatever is happening, and it not just as a pretension, but as a realistic conduct of your life, where you appreciate yourself, then you are a little closer to the truth. Closer to the truth. And again, another aspect of that in the question that Shobha had asked last time, that is it your mind does not react as much and so on. Yes, but really one of which I answered to her last time also, is that one of the better measures of reaching far is that at some point in time, what your mind does is not important to you. You don't take that seriously. If it gets upset, it gets upset. It has some reasons to get upset. But you continue to maintain a distance between that. So it is not as though I'm not saying that you should not try to improve your thinking. That's all there as part of that. But ultimately, because of your prarabdha karma and so on, things are going to happen to you. Health problems are going to be there. Mental problems are going to be there. Family problems are going to be there. But it is the ability to distance yourself from it through Shravanam and Mananam and Nididhyasanam is really the ultimate test for it. So in this way now, as we will be studying today also, this advanced text for us Madhyama Adhikaris, not Uttama Adhikaris, should be, what are the markers I should be looking for in my life? Because the Uttama Adhikaris will say, yep, check, yeah, I'm like that, I'm like that. And very few Uttama Adhikaris, even sannyasis and swamis and all of these people, they're all trying. But they are maybe ahead of each other. Some people may be ahead of you and I. So this is what the whole process is. Anyway, with that preamble and reminder of what the text is and so on and so forth, let's continue on. Actually, I'm sorry I didn't chant number 32 because I still have some things to talk about. And here is another marker. Just like Sankalpa that we did was one of the things for you to do self-evaluation. Here is another one. Very interesting. This is really, this was well explained by Swami Maheshananji on the commentary on verse number 32. Because I'll just chant number 32 just in case. Atma Satya Anubodhena na sankalpayate yada amanastam tada yati grahya abhave tadagraham. This was number 32. Anyway, this is what we went to. Na sankalpayate. Sankalpayate means you are not making serious plans about your life. That was one. Now, amanastam means amani bhavam. Amani bhavam means the one where Your mind is not an obstruction to you. It functions normally, but it does not create problems for you. This is good, this is bad, what's going to happen to me in my life. All those kinds of problems are not there. This is called Amani Bhavam. So another interesting thing about reaching Amani Bhavam is this very important, very often quoted quotation from Chandogya Upanishad. So let's try to understand this. Vacharambanam vikaro namadheyam mrittika ityeva satyam. So he says, all the vikaras means a particular vritti in your mind, a thought in your mind, experience in your life. If you analyze it, it is what is called Vacharambanam. Vacharambanam means Vak Arambhanam Yasya. One who is beginning is based on some name, some nama, some particular aspect that you have done. So I'll explain this. This is an important thing, and it took me also a long while to. It wasn't until when Swami Maheshananji really clarified it that this, because I was aware of this Vacharambanam Vikaro Namadheyam, which means that the names of the vikaras are not important. What is important is the content. So Mritika means the clay. So the names of pots are just the beginning of the name, but the significance of the pot is the clay. This is what it says. Very obvious, and I've been reading this for the last 40 years and accepted it, and I said, yeah, it's Vacharambanam Namadheyam Mritika Ityeva Satyam. But it wasn't until I really absorbed it in the commentary by Swami Maheshananji that it made a difference to me. And it still hasn't made a complete difference, but it has made a significant difference. Here is what he is saying. Just like Sankalpa, which is a marker, Sankalpa means that you sit together and you are planning. Okay, I think we should do this. Now, this is different from a plan which is instigated by your prarabdha karma. Your family wants something, your health needs something, you have to see a doctor. That's not what is being talked about. But here what's talked about is that everything is okay. Now you have some free time. You have some discretionary period. What is your mind telling you? This is what it is. If your mind is saying, let's do this, let's start that, wouldn't it be nice if we did this? Then you haven't really turned yourself to the appreciation of yourself, because you don't need to do anything. You should be just happy as you are. If you are not, then you should at least know that you are not quite there yet. There's a lot of work that needs to be done. That's all it means. This is a marker. Vacharambanam is another marker. How? Here's what we have to understand. It says, when you give names to people, names to things, it has a chance to bind you. As you were saying, the very first verse of Ashtavakra Gita, that if you want moksha, then do not be under the spell of Vishaya. So this is exactly the same concept, really, it's not any different. So anyway, come back to this. So Swami Maheshananji points out that, listen, here's what happens. He gives so many examples of this. And I have a modern day version of that I'll give you in the end, which has to do with red wine and white wine. Okay? But let me just tell you his. He is saying that there are names that are necessary. Mom, dad, son, school name, etc., etc. Okay? But you should be aware of the fact that names tend to bind you. Namelessness is good. He gave a very interesting example about dogs. How? Swami Maheshananji gave this example. He says that there are people who are very concerned about the breed of the dog. Name. Breed of the dog. So what happens is, when you're aware of the breed of the dog, you become very sensitive to where did it come from. I want to have this. This is a good breed to have. And then once you are dog owners, God help you. This is one of the things that really just amazes me, honestly. Oof. Incredible. Just the other day there was this story that in Los Altos there was a couple that had two small dogs. I don't know what, again, I don't know the names of it. If I see the names, I forget it right away, especially after reading all this from. So it had some small dogs. No, really, but I must say this. I have had a tendency not to remember the breed of the dogs for a long time. This is from my parents, and Swami Maheshananji makes this point. Anyway, so this was a story in Los Altos just last week. There was this couple that had these two small dogs, and there was a lady who was doing some kind of an exercise in the park, and she had a big dog. And she lost the control of the leash of the big dog. The big dog sat on the small one and bit it or something. And so then it didn't seem like it was that bad of a thing. So they said, can we help you? And he says, no, it's okay. The dog died later. They went through the surgery and it died. Now they are trying to find out who it was and then sue them in the process. All because of dog ownership. And I tell you, I have seen so many friends and so on who are so concerned about their dogs and cats and so on and so forth. And Swami Maheshananji says, one time there was one dog that came into the ashram, and they of course fed him and so on and so forth. So somebody said, Swamiji, what kind of a dog is it? He says, I have no idea. It's a street dog. He says, I'm not bound by it. I'll help it. But I am not really bound by it. And when you have a name, so another thing he talked about was flowers. He says that if you go to the Himalayas, it is so beautiful. There are so many lovely flowers with all kinds of colors. It's an amazing delight. But he says, I have no idea what their names are. I enjoy them, and that's the end of it. Whereas gladiolus and this, and then how do I do this? It's all binding. All comes from the name. And now my addition to the modern naming, which is wines. Okay, people will just immediately say, what kind of a wine is it? How much does it cost? I mean, if you have to serve wine just because, you are You're supposed to have a red wine and a white wine. The best thing is to go to Costco. And in fact, really, the guy there is a very good one. I really like him. We ask him, we want some red wine for keeping in our house and so on and so forth. He says, how much do you want to spend? So we said, okay, maybe couple of them at $18, $20 and a couple of them at about $30. He says, okay. He gives it to us and we buy it. I have no idea what the name is. And I will write it down on top of that. This is $18 to $20. And so it depends upon who comes and so on and so forth. I'm not bound by it. And I tell you, I have friends who are obsessed. They look at the labels and say, oh, you don't have this? Oh. Stupid wine, you just, I don't even want to drink it, but just because of society, I just sip it, a little bit of it, I have no idea. This is a very beautiful concept. So one of the markers is you don't pay attention to unnecessary names. I really understood Vacharambanam Namadheyam Mrittika Ityeva Satyam once this explanation was given. Anyways, this is just another advanced explanation of the Karika as a marker in our lives. I think we're done. Then in verse number 33, I do want to speed up for a number of reasons. I want to really get going on this. So I won't spend as much time as I did on this. Only when there is a concept that I want to emphasize, I'll spend some time. Otherwise, we'll go quickly. Number 33. Akalpakam ajam jnanam jnaya abhinnam prachakshate brahma geyam ajam nityam ajena ajam vibudhyate. It's a rather complicated verse, not easy to understand. And so I can spend some time analyzing it and so on, but I won't. I just want to go on. Again, very beautifully explained by Swami Maheshananji. This is why having a commentary of this volume in the right language. This is Hindi with highly Sanskritized Hindi by a person who I think is really very well read and very well explained. Is just a blessing in my life. And so what he's saying is that there's a couple of things is being talked about. The basic doubt underlying this verse is the following: that if you don't do sankalpa, if you don't do naming, that's what life is all about. What are you talking about? And if the mind is thinking it is unreal, then how is the mind going to grasp the self? This is the basic doubt which underlines this verse. So there the answer is that there is a big difference between the mind grasping things as normal and no need to grasp the Atma, because it is self-revealing. Self-revealing. You don't need to do that. The only thing that you need is to remove the covering from it, because you're so concerned about the way you minimize the importance of the self is that you're very busy with the covers, with all the aspects of what is happening in my life. And to a certain extent you need to. But ultimately you need to just say that this is a covering of the real self which doesn't require any objectification. It is already there. So this self-revealing aspect of Atma is highlighted again and again. This is not the first time that we are doing it. This is done over and over again. But here it says that, and this is where, for example, in the 10th chapter of the Panchadashi, the whole chapter is devoted to this concept, this very concept, whole chapter. It's a small chapter, only 26, 27 verses. It's called Nataka Deepa Prakaranam. And in the Nataka Deepa Prakaranam, if I can just pause for a minute and just give you the gist of that, is that, and then something I'm sure you may be aware of that already, but if you're not, just to remind you of it, in the Nataka Deepa Prakaranam, it says that imagine a setting where a dance is going on, or some production, either music or dance. And in this room, here's what's happening. There is a light which is lighting up this room. And in the room, just for simplification, there are two types of people. One is the person who arranged for the production. You might call him the owner or the production guy, the producer. He's the one who's sitting there, and he's the one who really arranged for the whole thing. And then you also have, actually there are three kinds of people. So one is the chief guy who's sitting there in the chair. Until he comes in, the whole production will not be done. Number one. Secondly, you have people who are watching. So these are guests. And the third one are the people who are actually dancing or playing the music. And then the light. Okay? And so without going into all the details and so on, what happens is that one by one, after the production, people start to leave. It's all over. First the artists leave the stage, then there is a lot of clapping by all the people, and then the people leave. And finally, the producer, the main person who arranged for it, also leaves. The only thing left is the light. So the analogy of this is what we have to really meditate on, honestly. We have to think about this, understand all the aspects of it, and do meditation. What happens is that in our case, the Sakshi is the light. And the Jiva, the Ahankara, is the main producer. And all the sense organs are the people who are watching. And the sense objects are the ones who are dancing. This is the analogy. So what happens is that it may be going, and in fact this is what's going on the whole day. And in different forms. In one form it is the Jagrata Avastha. In another form it is the Swapna Avastha. But one by one, the dancing, the guests, and even the producer, the main guy, also leaves. Because at the deep sleep time, the producer also leaves. It is absent. But the light is always there. light is always there. Unlike the light of a room that can be switched off, this can never be switched off. Never be switched off. And the light, unlike this light, which also is made up of electrons and protons and artificial light, and you have to have electricity there and so on and so forth, the light of the Atma is self-generated. It's like the sun. There are verses going to come in a minute where we will revisit the analogy to the sun. Like the sun, it doesn't need to be, even the sun is also something which is changing. It has to be generated with the hydrogen explosions and some light, which is an amazing phenomenon that Ishvara has made. Even that also is relative. But at least from a relative standpoint, the sun doesn't need any switching or anything like that. It's always on. Similarly to that, the Atma is self-revealing. It's always on. So it doesn't really mean that who's going to reveal the light? No one needs to reveal the light. The light reveals everything else, but by itself it is always there. So now we can go to this verse. So this is one very important thing to see. The word Jnaya, Jha is the root. Jnanam, Jnata, Jnayam. So Jnayam means what is to be known. Because we are all seeking for us to know the Atma. What is to be known is called Jnayam. So the essence of the doubt is, if it is to be known, how am I going to know it? Because the mind itself has been rendered as unreal. How am I going to know it? So there it is says, in a way you can say, appropriately, but in a way you can say, it has to be known by understanding that it doesn't need to be known. It's a kind of a funny word. So he says, akalpakam ajam jnanam jnaya abhinnam prachakshate. He says the jnanam is the jnayam. What can we do? You don't need to do it. Anyway, I won't go into any more details on this. I want to proceed further. But that is the essence of this verse, that it is, if you want to say it is jnayam and you want to be a purist, no, you cannot say it has to be known, because if it has to be known, then it has to be an object and so on. He says it has to be known by knowing that this is unique. It doesn't need to be known. It is to be known as something which is covered by ignorance, but it is not an object that you have to know. This is the essence of verse number 33. Okay. Yeah, before we go on to this, I forgot that there is a very important mantra in the Brihadaranyaka Upanishad, which is also quoted by Swami Maheshananji in this particular context, which says, Nahi vigyatuhu vigyatehe viparilopaha vidyate. Nahi gyatuhu gyatehe viparilopaha vidyate. And so it's a very famous verse that occurs in the dialogue between Yajnavalkya and his wife Maitreyi. And What it says is that please understand, please see for yourself, please directly see that the Vigyatuhu means the one who is the Jiva. Because I am the one who is seeing things. I am the one who is hearing. I am the one who is observing. This looks very real to me. What else, this is me. And everything else in the world is an object to me, but I am the seer. I am, the observer. This is what is called Vigyatuhu, Vigyatra. Vigyatuhu means of the Vigyata, means of the knower. It says that please see that the Vigyatuhu may disappear, but the consciousness of the Vigyatuhu doesn't disappear. Please see this. Like a child, I don't see that distinction. It just seems like I'm dead, I'm dying, I'm gone. I was born at a particular time. This is me. This is all that I am. That's what matters to me. I'm the one who is observing things and so on and so forth. There's nothing else there is. Yes, there is. You are just a reflection. And just like reflection also, it has many of the qualities of the real Bimba, but it doesn't have all. This is a very important thing to see. Again, pointed out by Swami Maheshananji, which I did not seen this. It's just on the side, I'll tell you that. He says that, what I'm really appreciating what Swamiji is that so it's not as though none of the thinking that we are giving you, my thoughts, Swami Maheshananji's thoughts, are original. These are all borrowed from what the Shastra is. You have to collect it from the various sources. Anyway, so this point was that if you look at a reflection, the reflection is not a complete copy of the original. So for instance, it doesn't show your back. You see, a copy would be one, a complete copy would be a complete copy, which means that it should also show your back, but it doesn't. If you look at yourself in the mirror, all you see is a reflection of the front portion of your body. That's all. Why is this significant? This is a very interesting thing. Why is it significant? Why are we bringing this out? The reason we are saying it is that the Jiva as a reflection is not a complete copy of the Sakshi. How is it not a complete copy of the Sakshi? Because the Jiva simply says, I am alive. I am moving. Just like a reflection in the mirror also is alive and moving. That part is the same. But it does not show the sarva vyapakatvam of the Sakshi. Sarvagyam of the Sakshi. The ajam of the Sakshi. The nityatvam of the Sakshi. It is like, it is not, it's only a partial view, enough to confuse me. but it is not an exact copy. And so what happens is that I just take the consciousness, the aliveness of the Sakshi and borrow it and run with it. That's enough. I don't know anything else. I'm missing the complete picture. Hey, that's as I just gave you a separate, it just reminded me of it. But here in the Brihadaranyaka Upanishad, it's a very important statement. Na vigyatuhu vigyatehe viparilopaha vidyate. Viparilopa means the disappearance. Not possible. See it for yourself. Because the vigyatu disappears. Every night the vigyatu disappears. And every 8 or 10 hours, the nature of the vigyatu changes. You are a dreamer. It's a different vigyatu than the waker. That's a very funny thing. We just say, oh, no, you know what, I'm just dreaming. Dreaming means what? You are giving some, even last night, I had some funny dreams which just looked just very real to me. Yeah, I even remembered it in the morning. So I was really there as a, so the vigyatu also changes, vigyatu disappears. Vigyatehe viparilopa na vidyate. Anyway, this is an important pointed out by in the Brihadaranyaka. Okay, so then in verse number 34, again, I'd like to really finish everything, and I think I would like to. The dialogue between what the Karika is attempting to point out by saying that you can live without sankalpa, you can live without names, and in fact you should live without sankalpa, you should live without names, all of those things. The doubt is created. He says then, and the doubt comes in, this is a thing to note. The doubt comes in because our thinking is that we can subdue the mind in one way or the other, as we were discussing even, I think, in this class. You can subdue it by drugs, by alcohol, or by sleeping, or by samadhi. All these are possible ways where you subdue the mind. But don't you have to do it? Because the whole thinking is that, yeah, we have some experience in our life that an overly active mind creates a problem for me. But if I can just sort of subdue it, either by practice, and if not by practice, going to a happy hour, and if not by happy hour, just going to go to sleep, that I understand. But how is it that an active mind is not inimical to me? That I don't get. So without going into the details of all this, I just want to make sure that I understand the conceptual aspect. This is and in fact the next few verses are all saying that isn't what you are telling me like sleep? Isn't it complete subjugation of the mind? Isn't that what you're saying? So we said, no. Totally wrong. This is the premise of Vedanta. That a wrong, uneducated, confused mind that creates a false duality and creates raga dvesha, fear, uncertainty, a feeling of mortality is a problem. But the same mind, when it is educated, when it is free of the bandhana, all of the binding, same mind, and awake to the presence of Ishvara, the same mind, doesn't matter whether it's active, it is better if it is active, can free you. This is the issue here. Nigrihitasya manasaha nirvikalpasya dhimataha pracharaha satu vigyeyaha sushupte anyana tatsamaha. He says you should understand the very conduct of your life when you are awake, when you are educated. It is exactly like you are saying, should I see a snake here, shouldn't I kill it? It is better I don't see the snake. No. You should see it is not a harmful thing. It is something sitting there just pleasant. Nothing. This is the whole discussion, the very subtle discussion about the grasping of the Atma, of Parameshwara. And I think, I don't know whether we had talked about this or not, that really speaking, the whole life is made up of living by crutches. You are dependent on things, and when you are living on crutches means with the help of crutches, then you are very vulnerable. You're worried. What happens if the crutches fall down? I won't be able to do it. And it's reasonable too. The life of mortality is a life of crutches. Because you're saying, I can't be myself. I need something. But the whole issue is to understand. It's kind of like, you are now okay. You don't need the crutches, but you feel you still need the crutches. You don't. The doctor finally says, just throw it away. He says, no, doctor, I can't do this. So I'm telling you, just in fact, ask the nurse, take them away. And you may stumble for just a minute, but then you say, oh my gosh, I can do it on my own. This is what the education is all about. That you find, in fact, Ishvara wants you to be on your own. And the only person that doesn't need crutches is Ishvara. And you be the Ishvara, be the Brahman. If you have trouble with the word Ishvara, because how can I be Ishvara? You just be Brahman. Na viparilopaha vidyate. You are without crutches. So that's the essence of this number 34. And so this concept is continued in Numbers 35 also, that the doubt of the person about, is it like sleep? Is it I become insensitive to, like in sleep, it's an interesting thing, because in sleep you are insensitive to outside pressures. It's a very interesting thing. Really, people can steal your keys and walk away with your car and so on, but you are, in fact, the power of ignorance. Swami Dayanand used to say this. This is a very amazing thing. That suppose you have a close relative who has met with an accident, severe accident, but you don't know it. You're not affected by it. You're not affected by it. You're having a party and so on and so forth and so, because you just don't know. It is really the knowledge that creates problems. Ignorance creates problems. And so this is the unreality of it. So is it like the fact where you become insensitive to the things, you just like sleep? Again, the discussion is no. It is not like sleep. There is a big difference. It just means, so this is a technically an important thing, which is called badhita vritti. Badhita vritti means the vritti may still be there, but it has been rendered harmless. You know, an interesting example of that would be where, if you, God forbid, if you have a teenager who is very, very naughty, and they find out from their school that you get these rubber scorpions, dangerous looking things with all these kinds of things, and you put that in your parents' bed. And it probably can happen. And you say, oh my God, and it also, you know, if you touch it, it's kind of cold. It was like a real. But then if the child says, no, I was just trying to fool you, this is called badhita vritti. Badhita vritti means the vritti still looks like a scorpion, feels like a scorpion, but it is not a scorpion. So this is exactly what is called badhita vritti, that the word would still be there, but it has been defanged from your understanding. So again, the same concept we have done before, that trying to have a small samadhi for a while is silly. Swami Dayanand used to say that it's you want freedom for 1 hour. I want to be unlimited for 1 hour. Why? Well, okay, I just want to have the taste of it. Okay, go ahead. Oh, go ahead. Then coming out of it is even worse, because you want to go back to it. Is this life? Then the word abhayam is used here. Tadeva nirbhayam brahma jnana alokam samantataha. Just a second, I want to see. Yeah, this jnanam alokam samantataha, I want to spend a few minutes on it, so I'm going to quickly go through. But the abhayam is that one of the markers, again, one of those markers is that as you progress towards an understanding, the sense of uncertainty and fear diminish. You are okay with the way you are. You don't need to. Ultimately, all fearlessness completely goes. And why? Because fear only comes from something which is different from you. Fear is never self-generated. It is a result of a certain thinking that I hope this person doesn't harm me. I hope this situation is okay. This thing, coronavirus. This coronavirus is now creating huge global fear, and appropriately so, because it is something, it is even worse, because you don't know what it looks like, how it's going to come to you. But to a jnani, if that is also rendered Doesn't matter. So where the body goes, let the body go. What difference does it make? It has to. That is natural. So anyway, the word abhayam is used. Then in the last, I just want to go this, and this this last section of number 35, jnana alokam samantataha, is carried forward in the number 36. So the meaning of jnana alokam samantataha means that the light of consciousness, jnanam, is now present at all times in all places. So this is now, and I'll close the loop on it in just a minute, but let me just quickly go through the word meanings of number 36. Ajam, anidram, aswapnam, anamakam, arupakam, sakrit vibhatam, sarvagyam, na upacharaha katanchana. Okay. Na upachara is a very funny word, and we may have to postpone talking about it until next time, but let me go through the bulk of it. So, and I think here, Swami Maheshananji, I borrowed this from his commentary on Panchadashi. Again, the same process. This is where the markers come in, and where am I? So it says, apata jnanam, paroksha jnanam, adridham aparoksha jnanam, dridham aparoksha jnanam, sakshat aparokshat. This is the process. So the apata jnanam means just an introduction. It's like an introductory class on Vedanta where people just say, what is all this? And then you just give them some ideas on this is what jnanam is. And I mean, this is what happened to me when I attended Swami Chinmanand's class in the beginning. I was sitting there and saying, what is... I was just wanting to see what Gita is saying. What Gita is saying is Vedanta, and I had no idea what I was in for. And then I was listening to him, and he says, oh my God, really? I am the one? But doubts suddenly came in. It was kind of impressive, but then that's all. It's called apata jnana. Then after a lot of study and so on, if paroksha jnanam comes in, that there is something which is unchanging, something and so on and so forth. Then from there, aparoksha jnanam, that my gosh, it is nothing but me alone, but with full of doubts. Full of doubts. This is called adridham aparoksha jnanam. If you continue with this, then aparoksha, dridham aparoksha jnanam, which is what is called sakshat karanam. And Swami Maheshananji had given this idea that supposing somebody is coming at you from a long distance, you know it's a person, then you know is it a man or a woman, then you come a little closer. Then at a certain point, it says, oh my God, this is my friend. This is what is called sakshat aparoksha jnana. That happens. Amalakam, just like a berry in your hand, you will see that this is me. This is me. And then very quickly here, the meaning of the words ajam. You know what? I think we are running out of time. So what I'll do is I'll very quickly cover this in the next class, and then because I do want to spend some time on the on this last portion of 35, which is jnana alokam samantataha. So we'll do that next time. ॐ स्वस्ति प्रजाभ्यः परिपालयन्तां न्यायेन मार्गेण महीं महिषाः गोब्राह्मणेभ्यः शुभमस्तु नित्यं लोकाः समस्ताः सुखिनो भवन्तु काले वर्षतु पर्जन्यः पृथिवी सस्यशालिनी देशोऽयं क्षोभरहितः ब्राह्मणाः सन्तु निर्भयाः सर्वे भवन्तु सुखिनः सर्वे सन्तु निरामयाः सर्वे भद्राणि पश्यन्तु मा कश्चित् दुःखभाग् भवेत् हसतो मा सद्गमय तमसो मा ज्योतिर्गमय मृत्योर्मामृतं गमय ॐ पूर्णमदः पूर्णमिदं पूर्णात् पूर्णमुदच्यते पूर्णस्य पूर्णमादाय पूर्णमेवावशिष्यते ॐ शान्ति शान्ति शान्तिः हरि ओम श्री गुरुभ्यो नमः हरि ओम. So a couple of things. One, I'd like to have Zarina talk about her trip to India. And then there's some changes going on in this classroom, and I'll tell you what I do know. There's still a work in process. A lot of things are happening. But I'll give you a quick summary of what is happening. So, Zarina.
Hi everyone. I just returned from India. Very, very interesting, enriching trip, let's put it that way. So Sujata Chawla and I, first thing we went to Chennai. And there we met with Swami Paramatmanandaji. It was Paramathanandaji in Chennai. And it was one of the most wonderful experiences, I can tell you that. Satyan, who used to be in our class, I don't know how many of you remember him, or maybe you were not here when he was here, but he helped us a lot, and he gave us directions as to where to stay and how to get to wherever. And so, because Swamiji has classes in different places, every time his class is in a different place. So we found out where it was and managed to get there. Not easy because we don't know the language. And but we were very adventurous. We went in the rickshaws everywhere, and managed to get to his class, which was a lot of fun. Got really strange looks from people like, who are these people? Because he has a very staunch following, people who are there all the time. But nonetheless, after the class, we approached him, and then he recognized us. He says, yes, you've come from Vijay Kapoor's class. So, because Satyan must have told him. And then he gave us an audience. He said, come to his house that evening. So in the interim, we went to his quote-unquote bookstore, which has very few books, but many of his CDs and stuff. And we had at first, beforehand, we had approached them and told them what we wanted in terms of the media. So they had kept that ready for us. But it was like all over Chennai, his classes are here, and the bookstore is here, his home is somewhere else. But we went to his home. It was very nice. He gave us like a whole hour. I couldn't believe it. He got so much time. So three of us really had a very nice audience with him. He asked us about what we are doing and how things are going and everything. And we offered him our Guru Dakshinas, and he's not on email. He doesn't, I guess, I don't think he would pick up a phone to talk to us because he's such a busy man. He has a phone, but he communicates via snail mail. He said, this was his word. You tell me and give me your address and I will write to you. And lo and behold, before I came back, I had a very nice letter from him and Akshay, because we had, from our study group, we had all offered our own Guru Dakshinas because we use his lectures for Ashtavakra Gita that we are doing. And he wrote individually to all of us, which is very, very nice. So that was a very short, intense, I wish we had more time to attend his classes. I am thinking, maybe, because he does do an intensive retreat in Bangalore once a year. But he has no ashram or anything, it's just classes. So maybe just go to his retreat, stay in a hotel, and go to his classes, and then just attend like 1 week of intensive classes with him. That would be very nice to do. Then our next spiritual jaunt was, then I had to spend some time with my husband and family. Then I had to, we went to Rajkot for a 12-day retreat with Swami Paramatmanandaji, who's also going to be here in July now. He is coming. And that was very nice. It was at his ashram, quite comfortable. Some things, I'm not so sure I'd want to go back to, but it was very nice. His classes were on Bhagavad Gita, and it was his NRI camp. So we had about 35 people in the camp. About 4 or 5 were from Rajkot itself, and the rest of them were from Canada. Most of them were from Canada, Toronto. We were from here, and the Banjaras were here with us. And it was a very nice camp. We had 3 classes a day. What I really enjoyed in all the other camps that I'd been to was the meditation in the morning, which he did not do. So I was somewhat I felt cheated in a way. I really would have liked to do that. But he himself conducts all the pujas in the morning. Like in Sailor's Book, they do the full puja. He himself does all that. So that's why I guess we didn't have meditation in the morning. I would have rather had it the other way around. But but we did have 3 classes with him every day, 3 one-hour classes, and satsang, which was very nice. And food was all right. We didn't get sick. None of us got sick, luckily, because we made sure that we were eating all the hot foods and not all the chutneys and all that kind of stuff. We were very careful, and made some good friends. It was nice. It was nice. Then we were there for Mahashivratri. So the 3 days before Mahashivratri, they had these yagnas. They have a big yagna shala, and I don't know, hundreds of people there and doing all these yagnas and all that. It was okay. It doesn't particularly appeal to me, but it was all right. But luckily, it did not affect our classes. He still continued to teach our classes, thank God. Otherwise, but so we did have our regular classes and everything. But the atmosphere in the ashram was took on a different vibe with all these people and all this food and all this. And then on Mahashivratri, he conducted the pujas right through the night. It was good, but maybe I shouldn't be saying this. But so many flowers, and every puja has different flowers. So you put these flowers and you take them all and dump them, and you put on new flowers and dump them, and I don't know. I kind of didn't feel right about that, because it was just too much waste in a way, and like over the top flowers. It's not just like a garland or something. It's like, whoa, So anyway, that's what it was, and then the next day we left, and then that's we meaning Chawla and I, and then we also went to Ahmedabad, and we had a half afternoon, so we decided we'd take our chances and call Swami Viditatmanandaji, and we did, and he happened to be there, so we spent an afternoon with him, which was very nice, and then came home. I'm well. It was a little scary because I was flying through Japan, but all is well. I was very careful, and I'm happy to be home and happy to be in this class and happy to see Vijayji taking our class and coming back to like a normal routine, because I have never traveled so much in India. I usually go to Bombay and maybe go one place or something. This time it was like Bombay, Chennai, Rajkot, Ahmedabad. Then we even went to see the Statue of Unity thing, Sir Vallabhbhai Patel's at the Narmada Dam, which was actually quite nice, very nice. They have a fantastic laser show, and it, you know, very uplifting in terms of patriotism and this. And Trump, of course, was visiting Ahmedabad on those days. So, but luckily we were in opposite directions. So it was. But one thing I have to say, it's kind of ironic, and I don't know how many Trump fans we have here, but you know, those big post the signs all over Ahmedabad, right? Namaste Trump, Namaste Trump. But somehow the font that they chose to say Namaste Trump, it was like the, you know how the horror movie fonts are, like kind of pointy at on the bottom. I don't know. Do I describe it right? You know?
Yeah.
How that. So that font, and like.
Dracula?
Yeah, like Dracula fonts, and said Namaste Trump, but in that Dracula font. So I don't know if that means anything, but nonetheless, all in all, it was a very nice, enriching, and highlight, I think, no doubt, was a visit with Swami Paramatmananda. He was so nice, so Paramatmananda. He was so very nice, so gracious, such a humorous man, and very peaceful. We asked him, we said, Swamiji, won't you come to America? He says, no, I have no reason to. I'm very happy where I am. If I come one time, then you will call me again. Then I can't keep coming. So, and he's so right, you know. He says, no, I'm very happy where I am, but I'm so glad that you guys are studying and using my lectures and this and that and everything else. But very humble, extremely just a wonderful person to be around. Even just to be around him, you know, none of us could wipe the grins off our faces because we were so happy to be there, and it was very nice. So that was indeed the highlight of our trip. So.
Good, thank you so much.
Welcome.
I think Ishvara is making a lot of changes in our lives, and so we have to think about what. It turns out that unbeknownst to us, the owner of this building, JP, has rented this portion as well as that portion to the same person.
Same person.
There's a new company that is occupying, and this we found out just a couple of days ago. So we have a telephone call with him on Monday evening, and there is a possibility that we may have to move. In fact, there is a very strong probability. So we're looking at some aspects either elsewhere in the building or have to go maybe someplace else. And also I think that what I've been wanting to do was to, with the Tuesday night class almost over, and this one is not quite over yet, but it's completion. We have to think about the whole structure of the classes, what we should do, what should we, so on and so forth. So I don't know at this point in time, but it's very possible that we may need to see different places, how it's possible that I may not have the Tuesday night class. All of that is still in process, so nothing has been resolved yet, but I just want to let you know that there are some changes coming, so we'll see how it goes. Okay. All right, thank you so much. Bye-bye.